Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a curriculum review of Earthschooling's first grade curriculum. Now, before I get started, let me just preference this by saying there is a lot of information here. There's a lot of material here, and right now we are no longer using the first grade, sorry, you hear my kids in the background. We are no longer using the Earthschool curriculum as of right now. I still really enjoy this curriculum, and I'm going to take you through it, and then I'm going to kind of explain why we are no longer using it as of right now. So everything that you see is actually digital, and I printed them out, and I'm going to show you the two different ways that I printed them out. So first I printed and bound, I laminated, I got a image off of Google and just made my own cover, and I laminated it and I had it bound at my local printing press. And a lot of people have asked me how much this cost. At my local printing press, it cost about $5 a book, which I was very happy about. So if you are doing a normal educational school year, this would be great. This is what I did with the kindergarten. I did winter, spring, summer, and fall, and I just made them into very easy to read different kinds of curriculums, and it's all here. It's all just one thing. Unfortunately, the way that I did my homeschool year, this did not work out so well with us because I started the first grade in December, January time, and it was really hard for me to follow it starting that late in the year. And the reason why I did that is just a long story short, is that I wanted my daughter to be closer to the age of 7 before starting first grade, as is part of the Waldorf curriculum. However, I don't know enough about Waldorf to be able to just pick that up in the middle of the school year and roll with it. So that is why I had difficulty with this curriculum. But if you are immersed, if you know anything about Waldorf, it's still a wonderful curriculum, and I definitely want to encourage it because it is really great. So let me just go ahead and show you a little bit of what I did here. I divided this into the months of December, January, and February. And in the snapshot of the month, you have the different weeks, and they each have weekly themes of balance and harmony, angels, diversity, and nature. And this is all in the month of December, starting in the month of December. I did not download and print the fall because, again, I started this curriculum back in December to January time frame. No, I'm sorry, I started in December. So that's why I downloaded these first 3 months. So the cool thing about this, if I remember right, for at least the ones that I have bought, the preschool, the kindergarten, and the first grade, I believe all of the weeks line up in those. Hold on, let me check. Okay, so here is the kindergarten winter, and I want to see if those line up because I'm pretty sure that they do, if I remember correctly. This is a snapshot of the month. Yes, okay, so all right, so one of the things that I really liked about the Earthschooling curriculum is how they line up their themes. So you have week 1 in December, balance and harmony, angels, diversity, and nature. This is the winter in kindergarten, December, January, and February. So in December, the snapshot of the month, you also have the first, the weeks are the same theme. And it's like that with the preschool curriculum as well. So I bought preschool, kindergarten, and first grade, and I really like how well they lined up. If you have multiple children, that works out really nicely. So getting into this, this is also really great if you are building upon what you have already learned in kindergarten. If you have already used Earthschooling, this is just building on more and more. You have your main lesson blocks of the month. Sorry, I'll move that over so you can actually see. Here you have a main lesson block of the month. You have a science block going right through here. And then you have just kind of a general schedule. So this is how the schedule is laid out in the first grade. You still have the different colors on each day for the snacks. So on Mondays you have purple, which is rice, Tuesday red, which is barley, Wednesday yellow, which is millet, Thursday which is orange, which is rye, and Friday green, which is oats. Then you have a morning A, breathing out. You have the theme, which is peace on earth. So during this time, this is kind of like verses and movement, circle time, that sort of thing. And you can see where they left this blank. And that is very useful, that if you have different ages that are doing different things, maybe you do a circle time and then you maybe work with one child right there, or one block, or you can fill that in. And then you have your morning B, which is breathing in, and then morning C, breathing out, morning D, breathing in, and then it goes all the way into the afternoon. So here's where they give you space that you can fill in wherever it is that you want to add in different activities, and then they set you up with the different stories and the different lessons to go along with those. So you have your verses, you have your main lesson, activity day 1, you're working with numbers, and then you have your activities that you are going to be doing. You will be doing a main lesson book along with these, and then you have your afternoon craft and handiwork story for the week. They've got really great crafts in this curriculum. I really enjoyed the crafts as well. And then you're doing handwork activities, knitted candy canes, and this is a knitting story for soldiers. And then you have the bread of the week, which is a friendship bread. And then you also have the music lesson for the week. So this is all just 1 week worth of activities. You're doing knitting, you're doing music, you're doing science, you're doing math, you're doing stories. And then on like day 3, you have your main lesson activities, which is bird nesting in winter. And you've got some... What is this? This is handwork activity for the afternoon of day 3, and then day 4 you've got projects and the main lesson activity, which is the chestnuts. This is a chestnut activity. Okay, so that's all in 1 week, and then it goes into week 2. So the other really great thing that I love about the Earthschooling curriculum is that they give you a full 52 weeks worth of curriculum. So if you do year-round schooling, this is just awesome that you can, you have 52 weeks worth of curriculum ideas to do. And of course, you don't have to stick with it, but a lot of these are just fun and they're very relaxing, and that is one of the beauties that I love about this curriculum. So I first printed this out. And I'll be honest, as soon as I opened it up and I saw that we were starting on like the number 9, I just saw it. It was like we were starting on number 9. I realized, okay, I can't, even though I'm starting the first grade curriculum in December, I can't start the December first grade curriculum because they're already on number 9. So what I did instead is this. Okay, so then I printed it out according to the main lesson blocks, and this was obviously, you can see, a lot more things to print out. So I'm going to go through them one by one. Like I said, one of the things that's really great, Earthschooling has such a great price. It's all digital downloads. There's so much information on here. There's so much extras involved in this curriculum, which I really, really enjoyed. There's Wednesdays you can ask a question to a real Waldorf teacher. They have teacher forums. They have a really great interactive Facebook group. They have lots of member galleries, and all their verses are available online that you can look up and sing along with. And just the curriculum itself is just huge. I mean, look at all this. This is crazy. So they have first grade form drawing blocks. So they give you some ideas of how to start on form drawing. Okay, and I'm just going to flip through this really quick. Form drawing is kind of one of the basics of Waldorf that you want to start out with this really before you start writing letters, because you are working on drawing forms. You're working on really doing well on those curves. And of course, everything has a story with early education with Waldorf. All of these have stories that you tell along with each form drawing. So like I remember when we were doing this was a story, I think, about a sword, a king, and I kind of went through the story, and I was really trying. Another Waldorf philosophy is that you read the story ahead of time and you tell it back to the children. So I kind of just went through and I underlined things to remind me what the story said. And again, that's one of the things that I had such trouble with, and that's not necessarily an Earthschooling thing, that's just a Waldorf thing, that I had a lot of difficulty finding the time to read these stories ahead of time and then remember them because I have a busy schedule. So that's just me, but it gives a lot of really beautiful examples of how to do all the different types of forms, and they give teacher examples and student examples as well. So that's the form drawing. Next, we have the first grade handwork block. Now, I printed these out. These are different types of things from the internet, but I wanted to put as much, or from the curriculum, I wanted to put as much into each one of these books as I could, so that I wouldn't just have tons and tons of books, which I already have a ton of. So this is actually stories in handwork, knitting and weaving for kids, and fabric sit upon, which I think like the fabric sit upon is just like 1 or 2 pages, but I separated them by colorful pages so I can see knitting and weaving for kids. This is for Waldorf summer camps and classes, and all the handiwork ideas in here are really great. So they give, it goes by month if you print out this kind of version. So again, we're looking at December. So let me backtrack here and say that if you were doing the first grade winter curriculum, all of these would be already in these. It would just be in the schedule form. So it really depends on how your schedule is. If you are going from August to the to May or to the summertime, this is great because then you can just follow along bit by bit. If you're like me and you kind of started mid-year, or you're kind of piecing together a curriculum, this is great to print out like this, because then you can just pick up at any different type of month and find different handwork ideas for that month in particular. So going back to December, these are, again, that's all these crafts are in the book that I just showed you if you print out the full schedule for the month. So you have a felt angel, you have sand art brownies, a beaded star, an easy gingerbread house, an orange pomander, and bread making. And it does give you, sorry if I keep getting this out. There, I'll try to do better. There's a felt angel, and there are stories with all of these, and the stories can be kind of long, and they give you, there's a brownie recipe, and there's the beaded star. Now, another thing that I did struggle with this curriculum is that there's not a whole lot of illustrations. And for someone who's relatively new to Waldorf, I could really use some more illustrations in this curriculum. So they do have illustrations online, but again, that kind of took time to go online, either onto the Facebook groups or onto the galleries and find those illustrations. So that is one thing that did kind of trip me up with some of these. I mean, some of them you don't need illustrations with, but some of them, the hand working is kind of difficult to understand without illustrations. Now this one is the spool knitting basics. I remember teaching my daughter to do this, and I really like the spool that they used. I got a spool off of Amazon, and it was just entirely too small. So anyway, that's the handwork. Moving on, this is the language block. So this is another thing that we started off with. You have the vowels, the lost letters of the alphabet, the word family houses, the sixth sense language, the alphabet, and I went ahead and put fairy tales A in here. Again, that's just so that I could bind this all into one thicker book. I also have fairy tales B and C. Oh, there it is. In the first language blocks, fairy tales B and C. So I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. There are a ton. You can see how thick that is. There are a ton of fairy tales included in this curriculum, and I do mean like a ton. So you can see this is actually fairy tale C back here, and you have this is what you would be teaching with this fairy tale or story. I'll go back to this one. This is part 1. This fairy tales B. So you have the letter or the number to teach. All of these, and then you have the story, you have the age, and you have the page. So this is a great reference for multiple ages, because you can see it's got kindergarten, grade 1. I don't know if it goes more than grade 1, but this is great for combining kindergarten and grade 1. You have all of these different wonderful fairy tales to go with that. Okay, so getting back into this book, so this is getting you started into actually learning the alphabet. Now with Waldorf education, you don't start the formal education until closer to 7 years old, or when there's some real physical development like losing of teeth, and you can touch your ear on the other side with your hand reaching over your head. And I think that there's a few more indicators that they are ready to sit down for formal education. So that is when you really start learning the alphabet and the vowels and that sort of thing. So this is really interesting, is that it's got all the different kinds of vowels, and I'm going to say this wrong, eurythmy is the movement that is goes with the Waldorf education. It is available with the Earthschooling curriculum. I have yet to take the time to really sit down and learn it. But with the You're With Me, this is kind of what that's showing, is that there's different kinds of arm and hand movements to accompany each vowel to help them in sounding that out. Now, I can tell you as an online English teacher, hand movements go very far when explaining how things sound. So that would be really beneficial to learn ahead of time, especially if there's any kind of learning issue that you think that they might have a trouble with speech or something like that. I can see where that would be very, very beneficial, but I just did not take the time to do that. So then they have different ways of introducing the vowels. You have different colors for all the different vowels and the ways that the vowels actually sound. And let's see, then we are actually going to be getting into the stories, I believe. Let me see here. And you can see just kind of by me thumbing through that, this was probably one of my biggest drawbacks, was the stories are just really, really long. And to read them all took an enormous amount of time, and to read them all ahead of time and then to retell them. This is just one story. And that's a lot. That's a lot for a first grader. That's a lot for a first grader. That's a lot for a mom. So that was one issue that I had with these. Was that the stories were just really, really long. And I have two smaller kids, so it was even more difficult to either read them the story directly from here and get them all to pay attention for that length of time, or to find the time to be able to read those ahead of time was just, was really difficult on me. And so here is a lecture on You're With Me by Steiner, and these are mostly You're With Me. So then we get into the alphabet, the actual alphabet, and you can see that this has been well used. But this I really liked, is that this has paintings for each letter. Again, they have samples on the website, on the gallery and stuff like that, but it would have been nice to see some of those in the actual curriculum as well, because they will kind of explain to you how you are supposed to be. A D can be made in the belly of the dog, lying on his back, or a fat dog looking in the pond of water where his bone is. And again, we can make that, but trying to kind of explain that to my daughter, obviously I made the D, but it would have been nice to have some illustrations with these, I will say, because it's just a lot of reading without a whole lot of visuals, and I can sometimes be a visual sort of person. So this actually begins the fairy tale list for first graders, and you can see there's a lot of fairy tales, and this is just the first part, and then I already showed you this is fairy tales B and C. So just tons and tons and tons of fairy tales. So now we're getting into the first grade art block. So this gives you, I went ahead and printed out the supplies. There's not a whole ton of supplies on here. I would say, the supplies that you got, Stockmar is more expensive, but a lot of this stuff, it wasn't a ton, and it really didn't cost too terribly much when you're talking about curriculum. Curriculum can oftentimes be expensive. So this, I also printed out, this is not necessarily part of the art block, but I wanted to combine books. So this is kind of giving you an idea of how you would schedule your morning if you were making your own schedule. So going back to my first book, if you were going by this, you would already have the schedule laid out for you if you were doing it like this. Like they took the guesswork out of it for you, and they made the entire schedule for you. If you did not want to do that, they give you this schedule idea of how to do this. So first grade verses, the Sixth Sense language, the handwork block, the more handiwork fairy tale, and it just gives you the different colors on the different days of the week. So you got block 1, block 2, block 3, 4, 5. And then this is getting into the watercolor stories for the entire year. I really liked this. So there are no visuals, again, which I would have been nice to have some sort of visuals in these, but these are stories or poems that go along with each of the different watercolors that you want to do for the different holidays. So Chinese New Year, I think that we did that. Valentine's Day and love, and spring equinox and St. Patrick's Day. So they have just some fun things in there. Let me see if there's, and let's see. Then they have some ornaments and home decor, some verses about giving. Yes, this does have the book on giving. So, sorry. Oh, yeah, natural gifts for kids to make. That's what I was looking for. So, they have some great, great gift ideas, and this will come in so handy that I'm going to keep this around Christmas time for my children to make. They have these wonderful ideas that kids can make their own gifts, and they really have some really great ideas. Like, they have spa gifts, they have children's gifts, they have things to treasure, a homemade book or homemade stationery. They have yummy gifts. These are homemade food items. But I thought that this was really a great idea around Christmas time. So I'm really going to hang on to that, and we're going to start working on that when it comes closer to Christmas this year. The math block. I did not get too far into this. The gnome stories for the first grade. You got more stories, lots of stories. Circle time, math main lesson, and yeah, so there are a few illustrations in here. They have lots of stories. So with Waldorf education, you do all 4 different principles of mathematics at the same time. So you are using stories to tell addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and that's where you are also going to be drawing them out and acting them out and all that kind of stuff. So the land of multiply, the land of divide, and I need to make some gnomes out of these to make more visuals of these. So this is also Sixth Sense and Holistic Math, using the 6 senses and whole body to learn math. And I'll be honest, I did not get into this part, but this is, it looks like that this is a whole bunch of holistic ways of learning math. So the rhythm of 2, touching, smelling, tasting, sound, and then you got the holistic 3, the physical 3, and then I'm guessing you're going to have the 3 proverbs from Poland: touch, smell, taste, and sound. So sensing, using fourness. So that's that. All right, moving on. First grade music block. I was not a fan of this. And I'm sorry, I really love this curriculum, but this part was difficult for me because I went ahead and I will show you the flute that I got, the pentatonic recorder that I got. Where did I put it? I don't know where I put it. Where did I put it? I don't know where I put it. Okay, so the recorder. My kids ran off with the pentatonic flute that we got for Christmas. But the hardest part about this was I did buy a pentatonic recorder and the fingerings did not line up. And I will have to say that I'm a music major, so to me this should have been like the easiest thing in the world. And the fact that it wasn't was frustrating to me because this is just like, this is hot cross buns. And I think it was because the recorder choice that I chose a pentatonic flute that I got from Etsy that was supposed to be an authentic pentatonic recorder, and I don't know if it was the recorder that was messed up, but basically the fingerings just don't line up. They just don't. And it's really difficult, even printed out, it's really difficult to see what these say at the bottom. So I had a pretty hard time with this, and we didn't get very far on this. We love the pentatonic recorder that we got. The illustrations are very pretty. I really like the illustrations, but it just didn't work well with us. So moving on. The first grade science block, we have science stories, preschool through 4th grade, and woodland tales. Again, lots more stories, not a ton of illustrations in these. Well, these have a little bit more illustrations. We did not do, I don't think, hardly anything out of this science book. And then the first grade language blocks. This is storytelling and theater lessons. I believe that this is mostly for like a summer kind of theater camp. I'm not really sure, but we did not get into this one as well. Because, as you can see, some of these things, like I don't think I even cracked the page on this because it's just so much. I mean, we're talking that, and 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 that. So it is a very thorough curriculum. That part I really love. I love the amount of information that you get for the price that you pay. I don't like the idea that the stories were so long and they were just so long to me. I wish they could have been a little bit more compact, or I don't know, maybe some things highlighted or something like that, so that it wouldn't take me so long to read a story and then retell it. And then I also wish that there were more visuals and more illustrations in these. That would have been great. But other than that, if you are experienced in Waldorf and you know a little bit more than I do about how to teach the Waldorf philosophy, I think that this is a great curriculum. I think if you are new and inexperienced with Waldorf and you start at the right time of year, I still think that this would be a great curriculum, because a lot of my problems stemmed from the fact that I wanted to play catch up midway through the year, and it was really hard for me to get through the amount of material here when I was already so behind, because I felt like I was having to relearn the alphabet with the eurythmy, and I was having to relearn music with the pentatonic recorder. So to me, it was a little bit overwhelming. So that being said, be sure to like and subscribe if you like this video, and be sure to tune in, because I will be bringing reviews of the new curriculum that I bought for next year, and I hope to see you back soon. Thanks for watching. Bye!